These challenges, in our opinion, seem to have overwhelmed our security institutions.
The governors are supposed to be the state security officers of their state.
There is need for us to at least engage the traditional rulers.
We need to do something about our porous borders.
We have to own it from the unit level to the ward level to the local government to state.
Mr. President, the importance of today for us is for us to take action.
Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Central Bank should reconsider their decision.
Senate calls on the CBN to review decision on withdrawal limit and cashless policy.
The concerns of the Senate, which culminated into this investigative hearing, must be seen and treated by all well-meaning Nigerians.
And Senate President calls for caution in the concessioning of Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant, draws lessons from past mistakes. Hello and welcome to Inside the Senate. I am Hussaina Amina Aboki. This episode of the program contains reports of the Committee on Banking on the implementation of the cashless and the new withdrawal policies introduced by the CBN, some bills at second reading alongside a public hearing on the concessioning of the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Project, amongst other things. Stay tuned for the details after the short break.
The Senate will send a message to the President
to reap opportunities from that agreement.
Raise a matter of urgent public importance, and we are aware that when this particular motion comes up
for a longer term development, arise to second the motion.
Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Welcome back. Plenary of Wednesday, the 14th of December 2022 was presided over by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ovie Omo Agege, with the high point being the consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking on the implementation of the cashless and the new withdrawal policies introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, which is planned for commencement on the 9th of January 2023. Let's take the report alongside other deliberations at plenary. Do stay tuned.
Nationwide implementation is effective January 9, 2023.
The policy, which was introduced on the 5th of December 2023 after the launch of the redesigned Naira notes by President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday, the 23rd of November 2022, provides, amongst other things, for the withdrawal of 500,000 Naira per week for corporate organizations through over-the-counter transactions, automated teller machines ATM, or point of sales POS, while individuals are restricted to 100,000 Naira per week. The reaction it generated in the Senate on Wednesday, the 7th of December 2022 led to its referral to the Committee on Banking to be treated alongside the screening of President Muhammadu Buhari's nominees, Mrs. Aisha Ndanusa Ahmad and Edward Adamu, as Deputy Governors of the CBN. Having successfully completed investigation into the matter on Friday, the 8th of December 2022, following interactions with the nominees, the committee, according to its chairman, discovered that the policy is neither targeted at any segment of the society nor intended to disenfranchise hard-working Nigerians and businesses, as being insinuated in some quarters. He added that while acknowledging the benefit that the economy will derive from the policy, the CBN is also cognizant of the need for engagement with key stakeholders across the 6 geopolitical zones, covering urban, rural, and all local government areas. He then gave their recommendations as follows.
1. That the Central Bank of Nigeria should considerably adjust the withdrawal limits in response to public outcry on the policy. 2. That the committee should continue to embark on aggressive oversight of the CBN on its commitment to flexible adjustment of the withdrawal limit and periodically report outcome to the Senate.
Lawmakers expressed different opinions on the matter.
Most people, particularly the ones that are living in rural areas, don't go to the bank. They keep their money under the pillow. And there is need for sensitization. So I support the idea of e-banking. I support the idea of cashless policy, but we should do it with caution.
I'm not oblivious of the fact that the committee had made recommendation on adjustment, but this is not enough. As a committee of the Senate, they ought to also have interacted with certain indices to come up with a recommendation on what should be the adjustment.
With 3.2 or 3.3 trillion naira money in circulation, and it's only 1.something trillion naira in the banking system, the danger is detrimental to the economy and the security of this country. So we must support this cashless. How much money is it in the rural areas?
Local people that are dependent on daily markets as their means of survival, and the farmers in my constituency who engage on their farms dry season and rainy season, they need a lot of money, and all their farmland, farm hands are paid on daily basis.
Central banks should reconsider their decision. They should do 500,000 per day for individual, and they will do 3 million per day for corporate.
Why is this happening during an election period? Why is it that it is coming now when we have an election just a little over a month ahead? There is a need to be flexible in what we are doing.
There are people who are already making a living out of this, out of the POS operation. The informal economy, part of informal economy. What are you going to do with them? We have Isusu. Isusu, this is financial daily contributory services that are done in the rural areas. What are you going to do with those people who are doing that?
In the rural areas, particularly the local government, out of the 774, hardly can you see half of them having a bank in their headquarters. Most of the banks have liquidated and they have gone. What is replacing them now is POS. Mr. President, the policy may be good, but the timing is wrong. And the period given for education is wrong. We are not in military regime. You have to consult.
Forcing people to do that will just create a situation where our homes, particularly rural dwellers and elders, their pillow cases will become their banks.
Let us give it a chance, according to the CBN, something that if it works well, then it will continue. Then we can now say we digitalize Nigeria. If it doesn't work well, then we can have an amendment. But when we are now trying to say, we know this policy should not work, when we have not even tried it, it's not the best thing for the country.
And with this, the question was put, following which the lawmakers gave their nod for the approval and adoption of all the three of the committee's recommendations. The DSP presiding gave the final words.
I think the moment it becomes clear to everyone that we've gone cashless, full-blown, and there's no money being hoarded in anybody's house, I think there will be reductions in armed robbery and banditry attacks as well.
On the presidential nominees, the chairman gave the committee's recommendations, having screened them.
The Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, having screened the nominees and been satisfied with their experiences, suitability, and academic qualifications, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the appointment of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmed and Mr. Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Accordingly, the nominees were confirmed in the Committee of the Whole.
The ayes have it.
That was a report on the Senate's consideration of the report on the proposed implementation of the cashless policy. We'll take a short break here for our notebook segment. Stay tuned.
Sergeant-at-Arms are officers who provide security to parliaments across the world. In the Nigerian context, they are regular features in the national and state legislatures who enforce all legislative protocols, among which is the bearing of the symbol of authority, the mace, to lead the Senate President and principal officers in a procession into the chamber at the commencement of each legislative day. Their security duties are complemented by the police, who in most cases are stationed within and at the entrance of the National Assembly. Unlike some clans where sergeant-at-arms bear arms, those in Nigeria do not.
Welcome back from that timeout. Inside the Senate continues with reports of other deliberations from the chamber. Earlier on Tuesday, the 13th of December, the Economics and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC Act 2004 Amendment Bill 2022, sponsored by Senator Chukwuka Utazi, was presented for second reading. According to the sponsor, the amendment is aimed at subjecting the termination of the appointment of the chairman of the EFCC to Senate confirmation in order to guarantee the security of tenure of the chairman, as well as professionalization of the commission by appointing an EFCC-trained officer to head the commission instead of bringing in an outsider. He commended President Muhammadu Buhari for initiating and implementing this idea by the appointment of the current chairman, who is an EFCC-trained officer.
The turning point of the commission came when this administration, which has as its mantra in the fight against corruption, took the pioneering and audacious step by looking inwards in the commission to pick the first executive chairman of the commission, of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, to head it. This is very commendable, and President Muhammadu Buhari has carved his name and administration in gold by this very singular action, and posterity will never forget him. All that is required of this parliament is to endorse this executive action by amending the EFCC Establishment Act to restrict non-trained EFCC staff from headship of the commission going forward.
The presentation attracted the following comments.
If we restrict the chairmanship of EFCC to only staff of EFCC, we may be limiting ourselves. Because a situation may arise where we have a capable hand who has done similar things in a similar agency, maybe outside the country, and we may want to bring him to come and improve on the agency we have in Nigeria. By then, we must have limited ourselves because of this singular amendment we want to do.
We should completely avoid acting chairman, because we have that problem on the floor here, and it was like we are fighting the executive. But the president has done well, at least now. We have substantive chairman. Let us have in our law on how that movement is managed. If it is not done so, we are also going to have another problem.
Accordingly, the bill scaled second reading and was referred to the Committee on Anti-Corruption to report back in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, Senate President Ahmed Lawan has called for caution in the proposed concessioning of the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant in Niger State, with a view to averting the failures of past concessioning exercises of government assets. He made the call at the opening of an investigative hearing organized by the ad hoc committee investigating the concessioning of the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant in Niger State on Tuesday, the 13th of December 2022. Let's get details of this hearing in our next report. Keep watching.
The concerns of the Senate, which culminated into this investigative hearing, must be seen and treated by all well-meaning Nigerians from the context of government's recent experience with the privatization of power assets in Nigeria, which continued to attract public outcry and criticism. Mounting challenges that emerged after the exercise have made many question the credibility of the process that produced the successor companies and the viability of such companies, hence the need for extreme caution in the concessioning of the remaining government-owned power assets, including the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant.
That was the Senate President stating his position on the proposed concessioning of the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant in Niger State. Earlier in the welcome address, the committee chairman disclosed that concerns raised by many Nigerians on the concessioning led to the motion he sponsored on the matter, from which the resolution for the investigative hearing was adopted.
Some have questioned whether it was not premature at any time to concession the plant at this stage, bearing in mind the state of the transmission infrastructure in the country and other unresolved issues around the completion and operation of the Zungeru power plant. This hearing therefore affords key players in the proposed concession of the Zungeru power plant the opportunity to shed light on the many questions that have trailed the concessioning process since it was made public.
Speaking on oath, the Minister of Power, Engineer Abubakar Aliyu, disclosed that the project, which was awarded in 2012 at the cost of $1.29 billion and fashioned to generate 700 megawatts, is at about 96.5% completion level and is due to be commissioned in the first quarter of 2023. He added that the concessioning process was approved by the National Council on Privatization on the 21st of December 2020, with the power of attorney irrevocably conferred on the Bureau for Public Enterprises, BPE. He gave the position of his ministry on this.
The Ministry of Power supports the concession of the 700 megawatt Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant as other hydropower plants in the country. It is therefore our considered opinion that the process of concessioning of the plant should be allowed to continue, particularly when the encumbrances towards the completion of the project have been largely removed.
The concessioning is a process.
Also speaking on oath, the project consultant enumerated some of the conditions that should be met before the concessioning exercise.
One, the power plant is here to be tested by the contractor. What the government of Nigeria is buying is 700 megawatts of plant. And there must be a testing done to confirm that we have got 700 megawatts. No concessionaire can take over and give adequate value for this project unless these issues are resolved.
The Director General of BPE gave reason for the concessioning, while also allaying fears that the exercise is the same as selling the plant.
We're in the process of concessioning this asset, essentially to optimize the value of the asset and also to ensure that we're able to provide revenues for government as concession fees and also the capacity of government to service the loan on the project. This is not a sale. A concession is different from a sale. A concession means that the federal government still retains the ownership of the asset while the economic rights of the assets are passed to a credible concessionaire who then pays the rentals for the use of the facilities. So in effect, the federal government still retains the ownership of Zungeru and the rights, the economic rights are passed on to the concessionaire.
In a response, the Senate President expressed satisfaction while also advising the BPE on the way to go before the concessioning.
I'm a little bit relieved that the gap that I expected to have existed between what the Zungeru Hydroelectric Power Plant is for concessioning and what some of us believe. I will urge BP to be strict with guidelines. If we have outstanding issues to deal with, then we better deal with them decisively before we go on concessioning.
Even then, a lawmaker accused the BPE of spending without appropriation and called for the stepping down of the whole process.
None of these transactions they are doing is appropriated for. When you are doing a transaction of over 200 billion, so something billion, you are expecting it's never reflected in the appropriation of the country. So there is a lot of infractions and bridges in BPE. This privatization thing can never help Nigeria the way they are going by it in the BPE. So I want us to step this thing down.
A senator representing the area raised an issue over the outcome of past concessionings and their impact on the people.
Haven't done so many privatization. Honestly, it is time for us to sit down and bring out in black and white what has benefited our people. Yes, it's good that we consensual because we have agreed that public servants are not good for doing anything. There are some successes. It's not completely, failure. But have we learned those, successes? What are the reasons why we succeeded? I think, to my mind, that should be the most important point, Mr. Chairman.
The representative of the Minister of Finance gave the estimated revenue that will accrue to the federal government from the concessioning.
The estimated projected revenues expected highlights that an expected revenue to the government is expected to be able to pay back the FGN loan and still leave a balance of 430 billion.
This, he said, is in addition to the optimization of the nation's power capacity alongside job creation. At the end, it was resolved that the speed with which the concession is being handled should be slowed down, while the stakeholders in the process should brief the Senate regularly on the performance of the concessioning.
Those were reports from the committee room. Next is our profile segment. Don't go away.
Senator Gabriel Suswan was born on the 15th of November 1964. He attended NKST Primary School Zaki Biam in Benue State for his first school leaving certificate in 1973. For secondary education, he attended St. Andrew's Secondary School Adipo and Government College Makurdi for his General Certificate of Education GCE in 1982. After basic studies at the School of Basic Studies Makurdi in 1984, he proceeded to the University of Lagos where he earned an LLB in 1989. From there, he attended the Nigerian Law School and was called to the bar as a solicitor of the Supreme Court in 1991. He also holds a Master's in Law from the University of Jos, a Master's in Public Administration from the University of Abuja, and a doctorate degree again from the University of Jos. As a lawyer, Senator Gabriel Suswan went into private practice and served in partnership with various chambers across Nigeria successfully. Senator Suswan joined politics and was elected to the House of Representatives as Honorable Member representing Katsina Ala, Ukum Logo Federal Constituency of Benue State, serving 2 terms from 1999 to 2007. He also contested and won as Governor of Benue State, where he served 2 terms from 2007 to 2015, after which he contested to the Senate in the 2019 general elections and won to represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District under the PDP. In the Senate, he is Chairman, Senate Committee on Power, and a member of several other committees. At the national level, he holds the national honor of the Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON. His legislative interests include infrastructural development, education, security, and agriculture.
With this, we come to the end of this episode of Inside the Senate. Join us next week for another edition. Thanks for watching and compliments of the season.